Football fans, picture this. You bet on your favorite player to score the first touchdown, and he throws an awesome block so his teammate can score instead. If this happens, BetMGM wants to give you another chance at the end zone. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second instead. That's right, bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Everyone knows the most exciting part of football is the score. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you have a chance to keep the fun going after the first player crosses the goal line. Place a first touchdown scorer wager today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only, DC only. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards vary. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What's up? It's me, Don Tolliver. If I could describe the open earbud, I would describe it as very seamless. It's like you clip it onto your ear, and then sometimes you can forget it's there, but it's not going anywhere because it's like clipped. It's kind of crazy. If I could bring my music with me wherever I go, it'd just make life easier and seamless without interruption. To be able to have the music on hand like that without any interruptions would be great. Check out Bose.com for more.
Listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of this podcast in which we just take so many deep dives into punk, hardcore, indie rock, metal, emo, whatever you want to call it, as long as it is weirdo, outsider art in some capacity, and it all comes from small, sweaty rooms in some really interesting people's brains. I try to figure out different ways to describe it because for those of you that listen to it on a week-to-week basis, notice the consistencies of the way that I describe the show. But that's because not everybody listens to every single episode. You get it. Today is this person personified as far as the description of everything I just said a moment ago. His name is Michael Berdan. He is the vocalist for Uniform, who is a very interesting band. They have put out some stuff on Sacred Bones. I frankly haven't taken a deep dive until this most recent record called American Standard that just came out a couple of weeks ago. But I loved it. And I always kind of put them, adjoining to the body, thou, that sort of stuff, Full of Hell. And it was always like, Uniform, like they're cool. But this most recent record, it's really good. And so I think if you like any of that stuff that I just named, you will absolutely love what they have going on. And Michael's a really thoughtful dude. We get into it. We talk about his love for cigars, which is something I never thought I would really talk about with somebody, but I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's ask him about cigars because he loves them. So let's talk about the ways you can support the show for absolutely free. You can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or you can just leave a simple rating on Spotify. Those things help out tremendously. I know you hear it from other podcasts, but 3 seconds. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. 3 seconds. It's all it takes, and it helps out tremendously. You can also follow along on YouTube. I publish all of these episodes. I don't record them on video, but a lot of people like to listen to podcasts on YouTube because, like firewall blockers at work and what have you. So I publish all of these on YouTube. There's a link in the show notes. You can check that out and follow along there. And you can also email the show, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com, and love to hear feedback. People are kind and they're being like, hey, can I send you a package of records? And like all that stuff is greatly appreciated because I love not only free stuff, and that's cool, but I just love to engage with music and what you all are doing, because I frankly think that's what keeps me engaged and interested in this whole thing. So let's talk about weekly recommendations as well. That's what I've been doing for this entire year. There's a link in the show notes that will dump you to a Spotify playlist where you can listen to all of the things that I've been recommending, new, old, everything in between. And today is a new record. The band you're probably aware of, Balance and Composure. They're back, and they released a new record called With You in Spirit, and it is awesome. It's so great to hear them not only releasing new music, but back and just as vibrant as ever. For those of you that just like completely dropped off on the last Vagrant Records release that were just like, I didn't vibe with it, didn't enjoy it. I personally enjoyed most of it. There were some songs that just didn't grab me, but this is definitely more akin to the stuff that they were doing on, the things you think you're missing, separation, all that sort of stuff, but, a more older, evolved version. It's so good. And I love that the boys are back. I got a chance to see them from a distance at the Outbreak Festival over in the UK. And they sounded just as good as ever. So if you, for whatever reason, are just like, have never listened to Balance and Composure, this is a great way to start. Or if you're a longtime fan that maybe lost a little bit of interest over the past, couple of years, just dip back in. It's well worth your time. So, I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm in for a work thing. I'm trying to catch some gigs out here. I think there's some stuff happening, nothing of the, hardcore and punk variety, but, Austin's a music town. So, trying to see what's happening at Emos and Stubbs and all the classic venues. But, it's always nice to travel for work, but then on top of it, be able to see friends and music and just basically act like I do at home. So it's really fun. Anyways, let's talk to Michael Berdan. Oh, wait, one more announcement. Before I do that, Taken, my band, is playing some shows in December in the Orange County and Los Angeles area. For those of you that are in that area, we are doing some shows with 18 Visions, who is playing the record Obsession in full. They're celebrating their 20-year anniversary of that. We, Taken, are celebrating our 20-year anniversary of the EP that we released in 2004. Obviously, you can count 20 years, called Between Two Unscenes. So we are playing a show, I think it's the 20th of December in Orange County at the Observatory. It's in the Constellation Room, which is the smaller room. It's going to be super fun. And then we play the Midnight Hour up in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, and I'm really excited about both those shows. It's the 20th and 21st, just to be absurdly clear about it. You can find your tickets wherever you buy tickets, and I hope to see you there. So that is what we got. Let's talk to Michael from Uniform. Truthfully, I really only engage with your music passively, and I mean passively in the sense that I enjoy bands that you are closely aligned with, whether it's The Body, Full of Hell, Thou, like all of that sort of weird, loud, noisy music and stuff like that. And I'm struck by a lot of the similarities with those bands and the art that you guys are creating. And it reminds me very much of the Hydra Head Records scene of the 2000s, where it was like any band that wasn't like a very straightforward punk, hardcore, or metal band kind of fell into this milieu of being like, well, they're not really any of those things. So like, how about Keelhaul? Like, we'll put them over there. Do you feel that kinship with bands that I mentioned?
It's funny, and I would love to be aligned with Keelhaul.
Yep.
I mean, Cleveland's finest. But yeah, it really depends on the day and on my mental state at any given moment. Sometimes I feel like we're like very tuned in and attached to a community, and then other times like really not so much. It's different with The Body in particular, though, and Thou and Full of Hell too. But with those guys, it's I get the sonic similarities, and we've obviously all like played shows together, but we all have very different taste. We're all very different people. Sorry, I've got a dog squeaking at my foot with a cute chew toy. But more than anything, we're just like all friends. Lee and Chip are two of my best friends, and Lee moved back here recently, and I'm incredibly grateful. And by back here, like he's 200 miles away, but still. But these are people that like we have similar outlooks on the world, for better or for worse. And when I hang out with them, I feel less crazy. I don't think of us as like misanthropic. We're definitely cynical. We definitely don't see a bright light at the end of the tunnel. There's probably like an anti-natalist strain in all of us. But at the end of the day, even though everything's shit, we still want to approach our corner of the world with kindness and understanding and towards those around us, which I need. None of us are like particularly careering. Sometimes our records do pretty well. Sometimes our tours do pretty well. But that's like pretty much the furthest thing from any of our minds when we set out to make a record or go play music in front of people. We're just like in our middle age and having fun and channeling whatever terrible shit we've got in our head into something that like we find spiritually useful for us. But that's neither here nor there. So I don't know if I would think of us as like a crew other than the fact that we've all toured and done collaborative records with the body. Like the body is like kind of the nexus. But more than that, it's just we're all too old to be like parts of a scene. So we're just friends.
Sure. The reason that I pose the question like that is because to your point, there is this interesting connection that happens, especially as people, like you put it as well, reach their middle age where, yes, they may have grown up within the punk and hardcore scene, and most likely that's where many of us come from. But then we're attracted to the things that just happen as you get older, where it's just like, man, Throbbing Gristle is pretty sick. And Strife is still good too. But like, you just start to add on it and you're like, I want to play this style of music, even though sonically it probably has no similarities to what you were doing as a 16-year-old just figuring out how to play an instrument. And that I think that's exciting because, to your point, again, you're just creating music devoid of any sort of appeal to a broader audience. You're just like, yes, this is weird art music that's heavy. Maybe follow along with it.
Yeah, totally. It's one of those, we're all kind of sponges, and we're influenced by the music we listen to, by like the books we read, by like the movies that we watch, and I'll tend to like some of the same stuff and then dislike others. But whenever we're making whatever it is that we set out to make, it's always through the filter of our own experience. We were to like set out to make a more like straight up traditional Minor Threat style hardcore record, it would still sound like Uniform, because we have no idea how to not bring ourselves and our influences into whatever we're touching. We're really bad. I think all of us are really bad at creating facsimiles, which is nice.
It does become a futile effort when no matter what lens you're putting it through, where it's, man, it still sounds like me, or you're like, that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Like no matter what, I'm fucking stuck with myself. And some days that's okay. Some days that sucks. But, you just got to put one foot in front of the other.
Totally. I want to dig into you as a person. I know this is like real top of the waves, like biographical stuff, but where did you actually come up? Were you in the New York City area, or where were you born and raised?
I was born like right outside of New York in a town called Clifton, New Jersey. And my mother and father were living there for a few years. My mom's from Long Island. My dad's from outside of Boston. And we lived in Clifton for a little bit. And then we moved to the suburbs outside of Boston, where my dad went to school. And then we moved to outside of Philadelphia for my dad to finish school. But he wound up not sticking around for too long. And we, like the rest of my family, me, my mom, my little brother, just stayed there, but we didn't have any family there. Oddly enough, like my father wound up moving to New York and working in New York. And so even though he wasn't the New York person, he like became the New York person. And my cousins and aunts and uncles are all like New York people. And my father's side's all outside of Boston, but I was raised in Philly, and I came up in the Philadelphia hardcore scene. I started going to shows when I was probably like, I don't know, like 13, 14. And I was just like a shitty kid who got into a lot of trouble in my hometown. And I found a refuge in punk. And there was a venue called Stalag 13 that was Philly's analog to ABC Rio or Gilman. And there were shows every night and just like constant, incredible shit. And if we weren't going to shows, we were hanging out at the mall and going to diners and just having suburban life until we started getting into goth clubs and shit. But I didn't move to New York until like 2004. Like, next month is my 20th anniversary of living in New York City proper. I hung out here a lot growing up just because like I had connections to the area. I'm a Delaware County, Greater Philadelphia area boy.
I appreciate the description there because it is so interesting, the different scenes, how drastically dissimilar they are, even though geographically speaking, you're talking about 2 hours between Philly and New York, but the scenes, especially like the output, yes, there are similarities, but there's more differences than similarities. And I love your experience of being able to dip into that to log 13 and like having that DIY backbone being able to draw you in, obviously there's a lot of places that pull people in that are venues that are, lack of a better term, professional, but just getting that idea of, oh, these are kids putting these shows on and like this can happen for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It really saved my life. I was a troublesome young man, and I don't know if John Sharkey, who plays in Dark Blue with Andy from Ceremony, and he used to play in Clock Cleaner and Puerto Rico Flowers, but he and I were like incredibly close in freshman year of high school. And we met this guy, Bo Brenly, who played in this band called Kill the Man Who Questions, who were basically like the Stalag house band. And Bo just took me and Sharky out. Like, I don't quite know why, because it was like legitimately cool and like funny and smart and talented, and he did cool shit, and he took us out with his cool friends, and we were shitheads, just juveniles, delinquent, just we sucked. Bo taking us out and introducing us to those people really gave me a home. And there's still people that I was talking to the singer of Kill the Man Who Questions right before we got on this call, and other people who came out of that scene, like Andy Nelson, are like still like incredibly close. Still my home, even though none of us, or very few of us, live in Philadelphia anymore. It's very much a spiritual connection based on a shared experience.
I am thrilled to talk about my friend's book called The Way of the Vegan Meathead. It's from the author and powerlifter Daniel Austin. He played in a band called Die Young, and he not only is he a great dude, but he is a strong human being. And if you are interested in gaining weight, protein-packed weight from the vegan perspective, he is your dude. And it just got released as an audiobook. I read this book probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember exactly when he put it out, but the audiobook is thrilling because it just makes it easier for you to listen. And if you were looking for pointers on, you don't even have to be like, yo, I need some big gains. I need some huge arms or whatever it is, because obviously I am not a weightlifter myself, but I took a lot of principles that he taught in the book in regards to not only veganism, but powerlifting and just being able to incorporate some of this stuff in my life, because ultimately we all want to be healthier, right? You don't have to, bench press 900 pounds. Like maybe you just bench press, 300 pounds or leg press and, squats, all those things. But all joking aside, Daniel has been in this scene for quite some time, not only the powerlifting scene, but the hardcore and punk scene. And he practices what he preaches, and he loves to share this information. So go find The Way of the Vegan Meathead on any audiobook platform, or you can go to his website directly, daniel-austin.com, or just Google The Way of the Vegan Meathead. I have a link in the show notes. I highly encourage you to check out the audiobook or the physical book and learn, because that's what we're here on this planet for. You bringing up Kill the Man That Questions. In the 10 years I've been doing this show, that band has never been brought up. And I think I love when people get the exposure to me being from the West Coast, like the ebullition style of things, where it's just we hate barcodes, like whatever, like that whole, and like you said, the ABC No Rio scene, when people get exposed to that and then interact with other styles of music, like you're always viewing it through that lens, which is inherently unique and special. And it's cool. You got saved by that as opposed to another strain, which would still be cool, but I just think it hits a little bit different when you get that exposure.
It's true. And honestly, like Philadelphia at that time was a weird melting pot. Like there was like some shit, like slightly before I came in, like slightly before my time, it was like a different kind of violent area and violent scene. And like to my understanding, there were like Nazis around a little bit, and which was just like a typical in the late 80s, early 90s. They all got kicked out by these graffiti guys from Northeast Philly who were this crew called Ninth Circle, and Ninth Circle later on were folded into FSU. But, you know, and the way that shit worked, like these guys were around, and if you weren't friendly with them, like chances were you were going to get beat up. I became friendly with people, and I like fucking lunkhead hardcore. Like chances are I would rather, if you were to ask me, depending on the day, do I want to listen to Born Against or Sheer Terror? Like it really depends if it's a Monday or a Wednesday.
It's a flip of the coin.
Yeah. But so I was exposed to really all of it, and everyone's definition of hardcore was like slightly different, but never territorial. Like His Hero Is Gone's a hardcore band. Osrotten's a hardcore band. Madball's a hardcore band. It's like, it wasn't that weird. And it also wasn't that weird for disparate bands like that to play together, even though like it wasn't, in retrospect, it wasn't such a good idea all of the time, because it usually wound up being pretty violent because you have these people with different ideas from different communities, just like on top of each other. And that didn't always end well. But I'm forever grateful for where I came up and how I came up. Many people didn't have these opportunities.
Yeah. You're great. Yeah, you're great. No, totally. And I know it sounds like such a cliche of just, oh, music saved my life. But you're very right, where it's like, yes, the music is the backbone, but then these people and this community, when you're just flailing for some connection to other human being as a junior high school or college, whatever age, like you're just looking for something. And then when you find your people, it's, oh, so okay, life isn't so bad.
Oh, big time. Look, so the kids that I grew up with, like in middle school, right? A bunch of them made national news 2 years ago because one of them, their dads were part of this biker gang, and their older brothers were part of this like other gang. And as they all aged in and got certain kinds of cred, they were like, when we were like little kids, like Eazy-E listening, starter jacket wearing kid, like just regular kids. They grew up to be like white power biker guys. And they made two of them made the national news. One of them shot the other in the face and hid his body in an abandoned crypt. And that's where my junior high friends are. I'm so grateful that my life did not turn out like that, because for a lot of people around me, like it was like work with your hands, which I deeply respect. But then the like weird, like crime and like racist elements of stuff were very serious. And I escaped that by the hair of my teeth, like skin of my teeth, whatever the fuck the phrase. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
and
I do.
Owe that to Stalag 13.
Yeah. Which is incredible. And so what kind of kid, as you were finding identity within music and starting to participate more in that, did you immediately get taken in by the idea of playing in a band, or did you have to work your way up to it, so to speak?
I was taken in by the idea of playing in a band well before I like joined the scene. My friends growing up weren't really into music, or weren't into the music that I liked. I'm a product of the Headbangers Ball. I found a weird sense of identification with Ozzy Osbourne when I was 10. And then I got the No More Tears CD. It was my first CD for my 12th birthday. And I just started watching the Headbangers Ball. I thought Ricky Rackman was my best friend. And I convinced my mom to get me a guitar for my 13th birthday, but I'm terrible at guitar. And I practiced, but like the way it's very hard for my brain and my hands to act in concert with each other. Like my brain's just always going faster than my body can go. So I was really bad. And I joined like a high school band as a guitar player. I like convinced these people that I could play guitar and I couldn't. And they wisely kicked me out after like 2 shows. And I was like, to do something. And so I like started singing in a hardcore band. And it being the 90s, it was like, we were like just a bunch of like shitty kids. There were 2 singers. We like covered Chokehold. Like it was like it was fun. But then, and I did that for a few years. And then when the band broke up was like, so here comes like my fucking like personal, like woo woo, like fucking porn and shit. But I had a drug problem when I was I had a drug problem when I was a little kid, and I got clean for the first time when I was 15. And that kind of got me through most of the Stalag era. Those were like pretty good years. I still smoked cigarettes. I was like, I guess, chain of strength, straight edge. But then one day I decided that I could smoke weed, and I did, and nothing bad happened. And then a week later, I was at a Dystopia show, and I decided that I could drink, and I did, and I blacked out, but nothing bad happened. And I had fun. I don't remember seeing Dystopia. I don't think I did. I think I just stayed in the bar across the street. But then the next 10 years of my life were just fucking gone. And I wasn't functional enough to play in bands from that point forward. And it was it was a dark time for a long time. And then I started a band in my late 20s, which was like based around like just being as like chaotic and shitty as you could possibly be. And like, oddly enough, like that band took off, and it was fine. It was like, just drink and hit yourself and fight your bandmates and fight the crowd, that kind of shit. Like, it was fucking stupid. But then when that band broke up and I got clean, like, I'm probably never going to be able to play music again. But like, shit was so bad that I didn't even care. Like, if I have to fucking become a monk, or look, I'll do anything just to not have to fucking get high, like, in order to keep my hands from stop shaking. And didn't have the fucking guts to kill myself. So like, I stopped partying, and I was just like, whatever, it's fine. I didn't expect to play music again. But then Mark McCoy hit me up, and we were like kind of reforming the Oath, but he wanted to play guitar, and he was wondering if I would sing. And I was like, I guess I'll give this a shot. That turned into a band called Veins that very much wasn't the Oath. But like, through doing that, I was like, I guess I can do this sober after all, whatever, see where it goes. And that was 14 years ago. And now we're having a conversation, and life's a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool to hear where you were able to, no matter how far away from music and frankly the version of yourself that you eventually hopefully wanted to be, that it was still, you'd still have people pulling you in that direction. And that is really cool. Even if you were in the depths of your addiction or what have you, there's still that, even though I know we referenced it earlier in the conversation, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, which we all know there isn't, but just like, you still felt those lifelines being thrown out to you occasionally, even if you didn't recognize it at the time. But in retrospect, you're able to be like, oh yeah, there's some commonality there.
Yeah, definitely. It was weird with the band Drunk Driver that I played in before Veins, in that the way it started was Sharky, my best friend from high school, playing in this band called Clock Cleaner, who were doing really well. And I've always had this like weird competitive thing with Sharky. It was fucking stupid because he's like legitimately like a way better musician and like funnier and smarter than I am. But I was kind of like, fuck this. If Sharky can do it, I can do it. And it was like, I was like carried by spite. It worked out. Yeah. But Clock Cleaner is much better than my band at that time. And we're all still here, and we're all still doing our thing. But
right. And I think through a lot of that experience too, getting you to a spot where you can express yourself in uniform in all of these different ways. It's not like art has to come from the, deepest, darkest recesses of your brain, but at the same time, if you have those experiences to pull on, they're there. And just the ability for you to go through all of this to be like, all right, now I feel like I'm not only am I able to play and able to express myself, but I got all this stuff that I've been through and it's able to inform the art that I want to create.
I've been particularly fortunate in that I've forever been surrounded by people who are much better at the thing that I want to do than me. And that has forced me to challenge myself continually. I understand how synthesizers work now. And I understand music theory because working with Ben, who's my kind of forever partner in uniform, music school guy who was like been playing guitar since he was 3. He's like a virtuoso and he's like a record producer. And whenever I'd want to do something and he would and he would shoot it down, he'd be like, tell me how to do it and we'll do it. And so I had to like actually go and learn all this theory and like all of these mechanics just in order to be like, then you can't shoot this down because I know how to put it in. Because everything else goes, it's I'm going to be fucking 44 next month and I've played on more records than I can count. It's not that I don't have it in me to write another record about pissed off at the government or the church or whatever. Just I've done that 100 times. Like, I don't feel like writing like another New York hardcore fucking betrayed by my friends like record. Like those are great. It's just not really where I am. I'm fucking like, I'm sitting in an apartment waiting for my wife to get home from work and I've got a cute little dog next to me. I'm pretty okay. Right. So what that does to me is there's no money in this shit. There's no glory in this. I'm too old to want to like be like plugged into a scene. Like the hardcore scene is, and like extreme music in general is like a youth movement, and it should be. And there are all these new bands and there are all these like new people and new figureheads, and it should be ever shifting. And I don't want to be the fucking like middle-aged guy trying to like fucking look cool at the Mind Force show. I think Mind Force are awesome, but that's for other people at other times. And for me, I still have a lot to talk about, but it's no longer like wallowing in like self-pity or like youthful angst. It's more, what's the shit that I've been avoiding and that I really like, I need to process. Like, what's the next step in processing my life, processing my demons? And that's how I choose to, like, I view it as, it's fucking cliche, but I view this whole thing as like a therapy session where it's, I started out making records about being pissed off at other people. And then it turned into making records about being pissed off at myself. And then it turned into a different kind of like self-acceptance and love and tolerance, but a necessary honesty in order to trudge through the shit that I'm going through. Like, everything just has to have, just playing in a band is great, but like for me, it's not really enough at this point.
Our friends at evilgreed.net are back, and they want you to go to their website. I mean, I want you to go to their website because they sell so many great things from so many awesome bands within the heavy music scene. I like to say cool, heavy stuff, but basically they're based in Berlin, Germany. They have stores for labels like Triple B and Sargent House and Flat Spot, like the list goes on. But they also work with bands like, Nails, Blood Incantation. So if you listen to this show, I can guarantee you will find at least 10 things that you put in your cart and be like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get these. Holidays are right around the corner. I'm getting some gifts for my friends. I'm getting some gifts for myself. But don't let the Berlin location scare you. The shipping rates to us here in the United States of America are very advantageous, and it gets to you very quickly. I've ordered from them before. I've no joke got my order in like 8 or 9 days. And sometimes it's one of those things where you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm ordering internationally. I'm going to get it in like weeks. No, they are dialed in. Plus, They are all run by punk and hardcore kids. And this company is amazing. I met them a few years ago at a music festival, struck up a friendship, and ever since then, I have been espousing their praises. So go to evilgreed.net, shop to your heart's content, buy vinyl, shirts, sweatshirts, a bunch of stuff, and you'll go home happy. Or actually, you're not even going anywhere, so you'll be shipped happy. I don't know. You get the point. But evilgreed.net and enjoy. Not only do I identify with that, but I love where you're coming from. Just the idea of how not only do we change as humans, but then our expression of how we're trying to either understand ourselves or understand the world around us, like, has to evolve with the musical expression. It's, yes, you can be the locked into to sound like the band that I wanted to sound like when I was 21 years old, but like that will change drastically year over year. And that's obviously what Uniform does. I have to specifically ask in regards to, like, you're the, and this may be extremely superficial, but like your logo is, first of all, incredible. It just, like, it immediately evokes a feeling. Like, you look at that and you're just like, that's dark and sinister. And I want to know what's happening with that. Where did that come from? And then do you feel that it evokes what it is that I was just describing to you?
It can. So where it came from was, like, when Ben and I started Uniform, we started it as a 2-piece, and a week or so after our first practice, Ben was like, we need a logo. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean we need a logo? He's like, oh, we need a logo. I'm like, I'd never played in a band with a logo. I'd never thought about a logo before. I didn't give a shit. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. But he just kept on harping on it. And so I was like, I don't know, fucking crosses look cool and sickles look cool. So I, like, drew this shitty sketch of a scythe and a cross, and then it was like, that's it, let's do it. I'm like, oh, all right. So I took it to McCoy, Mark McCoy, and I was like, can you draw this? And he's like, yeah, sure, buddy, anything. And so McCoy designed the logo. I brought it back to Ben, and he's like, oh, that's sick. And it just, like, stuck. And I've applied different meanings to it over the years. For the longest time, I was just like, it doesn't mean anything, because the genesis of it was just, it's two things that I just thought looked cool. But then I remember we were playing a show in Poznan, Poland, and this guy confronted me on it and was like, what's your logo all about? Because the guy has a lot of fucking right angles. And I was like, it doesn't mean anything. And everything means something. And, like, I had to basically convince him that we weren't fascists based on this thing. And I was like, well, I better have a fucking explanation. And to me, like, the one that kind of, like, sticks with me is where, like, a cross can be, like, a symbol of, like, spiritual liberation or oppression, depending on which way you're coming into it. But a cross is the religion, even. It's a symbol that most people are familiar with, and it evokes a feeling one way or the other. And, like, a scythe is obviously evokes a sense of dread, the idea of death. And it could be death as something scary, or it could be death at, like, to me, death isn't scary. To me, death is its own reward. It's peace. It's quiet. But it's these two images that, like, juxtaposed have a degree of commonality as either, like, symbols of oppression and fear or solace. And so that's, like, the party line that I stick with, as opposed, it doesn't mean anything. But I will say it's just open to personal interpretation.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah. I think to your point too, it's just the way that it evokes something, at least it evokes a reaction. And I think ultimately that's, no matter if it's film, book, art, whatever art form, just looking at it being like, oh, wow, like, that means that's something. Like, I feel something just by simply looking at it.
He's borrowed a lot of the design in it from the Dead Kennedys, which I find to be, like, another kind of layer to it, because it's like the Dead Kennedys, like, aesthetically and thematically, I think are like the best band ever, and hate their music. Like, I find them to be unlistenable. I would much rather listen to the B-52s, who sound exactly the same to me. But to me, that makes the logo cooler. It's just like another kind of like layer of paradox, and I get off on that bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I wanted to dig into the record, especially the fact that you have framed it up starkly in regards to, hey, I have bulimia. This record is all about it, and I'm open to not only talking about it from a press perspective, but clearly, if pardon the pun, like spill your guts on lyrically. And I know this is a very cliche question, but what motivated you to actually want to explore that? Because clearly, it's not something that people, especially from the male perspective, typically share their experience. Here's the appropriate tee up for what it is that brought you to the point of wanting to discuss all this.
It's the fucking Uniform have done umpteen records about drug addiction. And it's some shit that I wear on my sleeve. And then we've done records about my like spiritual conflicts, my issues with organized religion, which shift from day to day. And I didn't see the point in treading that ground again. And so it was like, all right. And also like some kind of like important background is we started making this record in very early 2022. I looked back over my emails and like the band, a mood board for the record on New Year's Day of 2022. And we were at like a really rough point then. Ben had some health problems. Our management had kept us off of the road, or we had done a tour, and then our management was like not enthused and were hell-bent on keeping us off of the road. And we were just, our morale was just shit. Do we break up? What do we do? But we had this collab that we were working on with Boris, and we're working. We can't leave that behind. So we're like, okay, we might as well make another record. But if we're going to do another record, like, we don't want to do bullshit. It was very much like our go big or go home moment. And so Ben and I very consciously, Ben is an incredible songwriter and an incredible guitar player. And he's written these killer riffs over the years, but where Ben really shines is like by playing this very abstract jazz guitar. Like Ben's way more Glenn Branca than Vinny Stigma. And I wanted for us to lean into that before we called it a day. And like, if I'm going to fucking force Ben's hand on this, then I need to go as deep as I possibly can. And like, there are people in my life who like have like deeply inspired me. And honestly, I look at Kristen Hayter's work, Lingua Ignota, who is a dear friend and who I've had a very long and sometimes hard relationship with, like deep respect. And she is a pure artist who I admire to my core. And I'm like, if Kristen's willing to go to these places in her work, then like, what's stopping me? And if this is going to be like the last Uniform record, then why would I go out writing the same song that I've written 100 times before? And so I was just like, cool, what's the last thing in the world I want to talk about? And this was it. Something that, you know, bandmates know about because they're around me. And you can't avoid it if you're around me. My wife knows about because she's around me. My family knows about because but it's like the kind of thing that I'd like skirted around with mental health professionals before, but nothing I've ever really been in treatment for. But it's something that I've been dealing with since I was fucking 12. And I wanted to go there, and I wanted to speak to the disease, but also to try to dissect the background and where my insecurities stem from that kind of brought me there to begin with. And like the general, my current anxieties as I get older and my metabolism shifts, I'm on mental health medication that makes me put on weight, and it's a lot to process. And part of me is, if I say this out loud, then maybe I can create something of meaning. And maybe 10 years from now, I can look back and take this as like a journal entry and see if it's something that I'd grown from or just something that I continued to sit with. And time will tell, but it's just what I needed to do.
So privileged to talk about MaddVintage. Let's be honest, the vintage t-shirt market right now is absolutely crazy. And if you have ever been in the market for a cool shirt that you're like, you know what, I really want like an old Converge shirt or, you know, an old Hatebreed shirt or, you know, maybe some cool 90s grunge band, and then get sticker shock when you're shopping at some random vintage store and you're just like, oh my gosh, not only do they not have what I'm actually looking for, but the shirts are like $1,500. No. Go to MaddVintage. You can follow him on Instagram, or you can go to his website, maddvintage.com, and you will be able to just see his awesome collection. And it's selling it directly to you. I have bought multiple things from him. It's all, you know, screened. He's not going to sell something that's just like this, you know, rag and being like, oh dude, here's, you know, $600 for this old Nirvana shirt that is going to disintegrate the moment that you put it in the wash. No, he also wants to buy collections. So if you have old shirts that are just lying around and sitting there, they're worth something. Go sell it to him, contact him, tell him the show sent you. And then that way everybody is in this virtuous cycle of being like, hey, I only knew about MaddVintage because I listened to this podcast. But all joking aside, I love what he does. He curates it at a very fair price and sells it directly to you. So I love shirts. I know you love band merch and shirts probably as well. So go over to maddvintage.com and sell your shirts or buy some shirts.
Simple as that sounds, like that is really how people obviously express themselves when it comes to art. Like it's either personal or you're writing about a third party or whatever. But yeah, it's very instructive when you can put something out there that is solely about yourself, but is raw and vulnerable to the point of where you're talking about being inspired by other people. It's like when anyone takes a step into the unknown, you can't help but be drawn in by it and be like, all right, that's exciting. Regardless of whether I identify with it or agree with it or whatever, it's still exciting.
It's been really eye-opening. Like it's weird because like when we started making this and I started writing the lyrics I was so scared about like writing about this that I got I'm rather like invested in the independent lit horror world. And two of my friends are B.R. Yeager and Maggie Siebert, who are just like incredible writers. And B.R. Yeager writes about isolation and depression and substance use, but he just has a way of like crystallizing the effects of like self-isolation. And Maggie writes about body dysmorphia in just like stunning, vivid terms, like might as well be like, she's somewhere between Kafka and Burroughs and fucking Cronenberg, but 1,000 times funnier and less pretentious. And so I wrote the lyrics with them in conjunction because I knew that they knew how to go where I wanted to go and was afraid to go. And it was like, you know, a really stunning experience. And since the Prince campaign started and my essays were published and now that the record's out, it's weird because it has demystified it a lot for me. Like just like the mechanics of putting out a record when you're talking about what dates the masters are due, what dates the art is due, what date, like all of these going on a press campaign, doing whatever, the really like mundane shit has made this personal like shame into something that is really just like a matter of fact talking point. And that has been incredibly liberating in a way. And I'm not going to say I didn't expect to hear back from some people about the subject matter. The outpouring of like identification that people have shared with me has been like pretty staggering, like in particular from like men in hardcore and extreme music, like tough men who like, we don't talk about this kind of shit. And I'm incredibly grateful for that.
A few other things I wanted to dive into. I know that you are the commiserate punk and hardcore kid when it comes to side hustles and everything else that people do to make ends meet. And I know you have helped many of your friends' bands, whether it's Orchid or other people, run logistics and putting stuff together. When did you get drawn into that aspect of it? Because I know that's usually the like most unglamorous / thankless portion of being in a band, is being like, all right, let's book a tour. Let's do this. How'd you get drawn into that?
It's something that it's not fun, but somebody's got to do it. And in my old bands, when other people like weren't making flyers or promoting or getting like shirts made or whatever, like I picked up the slack. And then over time, uniforms started. Ben had played in this band called The Men, who were like pretty successful. And when we started playing shows, he'd write me and he'd be like, has anybody advanced the show? Has anybody, do we have ticket counts? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so I learned from that. And I found that I just got a kick out of putting two and two together. Also, it's just I haven't been removed from underground music pretty much at all since I was 14 years old. And so in that period of time, I've made some just like incredible friends. And it's not too weird that a lot of the people that I grew up with or grew up admiring, like segued into like more professional roles. If I talk to the guys at Matador, like Gerard Cosloy or Patrick Amory or whatever, and my wife works for Beggar's Group, like we're all talking about shitty, fucked up records, but it's one of those, somebody has to do it. And over time, I just developed like a Rolodex, and I made friends with people at labels. I made friends with distributors. I made friends with people who create apparel. And I really just fell into it. And then we had a manager for a little bit in like 2017, 2018, and he was a friend and he did a really good job. But there was like so much stuff that like I wanted done that just wasn't getting done because it was like very much like a side hustle for him. And so I had to develop my shit further. And 2021 or 2022, towards the end of COVID, I took a job with an actual management agency because I just wanted to learn. And like, I picked up a bunch of great life experience. I learned all the shit that I didn't want to learn, and things became more and more second nature. But I left that job because I don't know, I was tired of getting yelled at by bands that I didn't really like. And it's a tremendous amount of work. And I was all but ready to just be like, I'm not doing this at all anymore. But then Jay Green hit me up, and he and I had been like joking about what would happen with an Orchid reunion, like in terms of logistics of an Orchid reunion. And he hit me up and he was just like, we want to do this. What do you think would happen? And so I ran some numbers, and he was like, really? Do you have anything to back that up? And so I called my friend Merrick, who's an incredible booking agent. And I was like, these are my numbers for an Orchid reunion. Do you think they're accurate? And he's like, yes. And I was like, cool. You want to book Orchid? He's like, yes, absolutely. And so then I was just like, hey guys, this is your booking agent. And then Jay was like, would you manage us? Or we want you around for this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And so that's how that started. And the guys in Orchid they all came up in like a similar scene, but they'd all gone different ways. And some of them, and they're all friends. They're all people that I known and worked with for in other capacities for a long time, with the exception of Brad Wallace, who has become a very dear friend, but who I did not know before this. Like, it took a lot for us to feel each other out from a, like, I'm not in the band, but I'm like this like auxiliary character that manager's dirty word, but that's like what I'm doing. And what does that even mean? Is it something that's valuable to you guys? And we fell into a very, I think, strong routine. And the way they are as a band is perfectly tailored to the way that I like to approach management, in that I don't think a manager should do everything for a band. I don't think a manager should be involved creatively at all. It's like, why would you manage a band that you don't like? I think that it's important that bands know how all of the sausage is made. I think it's important that bands know who's making their shirts, who's running their merch store, their booking agents, who's putting on the shows, who's like, because the day comes when we're not working together anymore. There's shit that people like need to know. And I'm like, and if I'm like fucking gatekeeping that, then I'm a fucking asshole.
Who's going to do it?
Like, I don't want clients. I want friends. Like, I want to like how fucking sick. It's like Orchid's like one of my favorite bands. And they're going to listen to this because they listen to this podcast. This kills me, but it's like, they're one of my favorite bands. They've been one of my favorite bands since they like first started. And I was like so enamored with them and thought they were like the fucking coolest back then. And they turned into these like amazing friends. And like the fact that I got to help put that together, like I got to I got to like get my hands dirty with like one of my favorite bands, one of them like the most like politically, aesthetically, sonically important bands like ever to me. Like, why would I fucking want? That's the biggest honor that there is.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
It means the fucking world. So yeah, I very much view it as like the artist controls the means of production. Without the artist, without the band, there is nothing to manage. So the band needs to be like involved and observant of everything I do, because it has to be about the band. It is not about me. I'm just a dickhead with a Rolodex who's here to help. That's really it. I'm like pretty good at spreadsheets, but yeah, that's where it starts and ends.
It's spooky season, and that means rockabilia.com has got some rad limited edition stuff going on. But first and foremost, you need to use this promo code 100 words or less, 10% off of your entire order. I'm very emphatic about this. I'm like literally pointing at you because they have great stuff. It's all officially licensed. That means the bands get paid, you get cool pieces of merch, and I don't care what you're into. If you're into Bob Marley, Grateful Dead, if you're into Iron Maiden, Slayer, or say you're like, you know what? I love Ghost. How about a limited edition like Ghost Lunchbox? Boom. They have it for the spooky season, but they ship from the Midwest here in the United States of America. They get it to you lickety split. Their customer service is off the charts in case you run into any issues. And this company's been in business for 30 years. They have over 500,000 stuff for you. 500,000 items, not stuff. That just sounds terrible, right? Items, 500,000 items for you to shop and see what they got in stock. And I love going on there every couple weeks just to be like, all right, what do they got new? Oh my gosh, look at this. Here's some old dead stock I can buy for like $10. Oh my gosh, it's great. So rockabilia.com, 100 words or less is the promo code for 10% off of your entire order, and long live rockabilia.com.
The last thing I'll leave you with in regards to a question is your affinity for cigars. That's like a very specific thing, because not everybody obviously likes cigars. Usually, actually, to borrow a phrase from you, it's rather than a dickhead with a spreadsheet, you're a dickhead with a cigar. Sometimes people link those two things together. Yes. So where'd your affinity come for that?
It's not that I don't agree with George Carlin's assessment of a cigar, and I'm sure a lot of people know what that is already, and I'll let those who don't look it up. But anyway, it's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. But okay. So my father, before he passed away, my father struggled with substance abuse issues forever. And the last time every time he'd get clean, he would take on another hobby to tear his mind away from the bullshit. And the last time was like fancy cigars. And so every time I'd hang out with my dad, he'd give me cigars and try to like get me to smoke cigars, but I had just stopped smoking cigarettes. And I was like, I'm not fucking touching this. Like this, sorry, Dad, this is stupid. But then he passed away and I'd thrown most of the cigars that he'd given me out. After he passed, I would like smoke one of the few that I had left, like on his birthday or Father's Day or whatever. And they tasted fucking horrific and I fucking hated it, but I just did it. Anyway, like a year and a half ago or so, his anniversary was coming up and my little sister had just graduated from high school and she got like a really nice cigar to celebrate him. And I was like, oh, I'm out of cigars. I should go and do the fucking thing that I do on anniversaries. And so I went somewhere and I like to like a fancy tobacconist and I asked them if they could recommend a very nice cigar. And they asked what I'd like. And I said, I don't know, something Cuban. And they're like, Cuban cigars are illegal in the United States. And I'm like, I didn't know that. I thought that had been fucking rectified during Obama, but whatever. But anyway, I got a nice cigar. I bought two just in case. And it was fucking expensive. It was over $100. I'm like, okay. So anyway, I smoked the first one and it was nothing like the shitty stale ones that I had. I didn't realize that the cigars that my dad had given me had just fucking gone stale. So I smoked the first one and I like quite enjoyed it. And then the next day I had a really annoying work call. Like, I'm going to have this second one during this call. And I just found it to be really relaxing. And then I just kept on going back. I kept on going back to that spot. And it turned out that spot was like largely run by, it was like horror people, like people from like the horror world worked at that spot. And then these like Puerto Rican anarchists worked at that spot and like just really fucking interesting people. And I wound up like just going in and smoking and reading books and then like having conversations with these guys. And for me now, it's turned into a nearly daily ritual where I find it to be incredibly relaxing. A lot goes into a hand-rolled cigar. It's like the journey of a hand-rolled cigar starts like the better part of a decade before it ever reaches you. It's rolled with care, passes through hundreds of sets of hands. And when I think about everything that goes into a hand-rolled cigar, like I go into somewhat of a meditative state and I just really enjoy them. I enjoy smoking cigars and reading books, and it's not a punk thing to do. And I love talking to people who are from outside of punk. And like, I have my lounge full of fucking working class leftists and we sit around and we talk shit and like nobody. Okay. So just like 2 weeks ago, one of them knew that I like worked in music, and he's like this jazz head who's like a fan of metal. And we'd like shot the shit about music before, but he had no idea I played in a band. And he asked me, he was like, hey, you know, I went to this Tomb Mold show. I was like, oh yeah, I know those guys. He was like, oh really? And I was like, and he was like, you know of any shows coming up? And I was like, I don't know. My band's playing at the Bowery Ballroom, like in like a couple weeks. And he was like, playing a band? I was like, yeah, I play in a band. And he asked what the band was. And I told him, and it turned out that he was like a fan of the band. And that was like pretty remarkable. But I love that. Like, I've known this guy for a pretty long time now. And it's just like, I don't have to fucking think about my bullshit. And I don't have to be like this fucking band dickhead or this writer dickhead or this fucking special me. I fucking do this, you know, stupid human trick with fucking transgressive art or what the fuck ever. Like, I get to just out with regular people and be a regular person.
Yeah.
So it's weirdly become very important to me and very like spiritual to me. And it's so fucking stupid.
Sure. Well, no, but I see the logic in what it is you're talking about. This is not just a tongue firmly implanted in cheek and a bit you're running off of, even though it is funny, but it provides a lot more than just humor to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, it's like, it's my thing. And Jeff Garlock from Orchid wrote me one day and he was like, hey, have you ever heard of this brand? I'm not going to say the brand, but it's part of a story. And he sent me the Instagram link for this brand. And it was like the brand that I primarily smoke. I was like, yes, I have. He's like, oh shit. He's like, me and Jay went to high school with the guy who like started this company and was the primary blender. And I was like, oh shit, that's fucking awesome. They're like, yeah. He's like, I'm good friends with his brother. I'm like, oh shit. Can you maybe introduce me to him or something? And he's like, fuck no, we hated that guy. Wah, wah.
Yeah. That's really funny.
Is what it is.
There you go. That was Michael from Uniform. What a great dude. Love to hang out with him. Shout out to Bailey, his publicist, for hooking this up and bringing me the idea. Because I was like, you know what? I want to know more about Uniform. Check out their new record called American Standard. They released a companion record as well called Nightmare City, and I have not listened to it as of yet, but I imagine that if you like American Standard, you most likely will like this other record as well. So check them out. They're on tour. They are a great band, so listen to them. Next week is a great discussion with a blast from my past in the best way possible. Recently ran into him when I was playing some shows on the East Coast of like in Philly, and I just was like, Josh, you need to be on the show. So I have Josh Jakubowski. He played in legendary screamo bands called Neil Perry, Joshua Fit for Battle, The Now, and Hot Cross. Talk about like a just very prolific run. One of the questions I asked him was like, I know all these bands existed for like a year and a half to 2 years, but like you did them all. Like, did you just say yes to everybody? And he was like, pretty much. But Neil Perry, it looms so large in my brain, and I'll go into this next week, but they released 3 songs on a split they did with a band called A Day's Refrain that lives rent-free in my brain because I've wanted to start a band. I'd just be like, I want to start a band that sounds exactly like these 3 songs. It is so good. So anyways, Josh and I chop it up because for a while, he just kind of fell in love with not the creation of music, but just like, the scene, going to shows and stuff like that. But he started to dip back in, and it's really exciting because, he's playing music again too. So anyways, Josh Jakubowski from Neil Perry is on next week, amongst many other bands. But until then, please be safe, everybody.
This podcast is supported by BetterHelp, offering licensed therapists you can connect with via video, phone, or chat. Here's BetterHelp Head of Clinical Operations Hesyu Joe discussing who can benefit from therapy.
I think a lot of people think that you're supposed to be going to therapy once you're like having panic attacks every day. But before you get to that point, I think once you start even noticing that you feel a little bit off and you can't maintain this harmony that you once had in relationships, that could be a sign that maybe you want to go talk to somebody. There's always a benefit in talking to someone because we can all benefit from improved insight about ourselves and who we are and how we behave with other people. So if you're human, that's like a good indicator that you could benefit from talking to somebody.
Find out if therapy is right for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today. That's BetterHelp.com.
Meet the Bose Ultra Open Earbuds, a reinvention of what earbuds could be, and the perfect gift for the music lover in your life. Hear life and music at the same time. Go to Bose.com/iHeart to shop now.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's more than a life policy. It's about the promise and the responsibility that comes with being a new parent. Being there day and night, and building a plan for tomorrow, today. For the ones you'll always look out for, trust Amica Life Insurance. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
Hey y'all, Nimini here. I'm the host of a brand new history podcast for kids and families called Historical Records. Executive produced by Questlove, The Story Pirates, and John Glickman, Historical Records brings history to life through hip-hop. Get the kids in your life excited about history by tuning in to Historical Records. Listen to Historical Records on the iHeartRadio app, Podcast or wherever you get your podcasts.